What's up, guys? David Crozier here. I'm a photographer down here in South Georgia. I'm going to do a video today on, I'm not going to touch too much on the camera I use. It's more so going to be on the Fuji xf50-140mm. It's an incredible lens. This is not going to be a video where I'm going to cover specs, like how many elements are in it, what grouping it is, blah, blah, blah. I'm not really going to cover the camera too much. There's a ton of videos online and a ton of spec information online for that. What I'm going to actually do in this video is show you some photos from a real, putting the lens through its paces kind of event that I recently shot this past weekend. I'm the official photographer for the statewide preliminary for Miss Alabama. So I shot from 2 p.m. till 10 p.m. at night, just straight on. The Fuji x-pro2, phenomenal camera for that. I didn't have one hiccup at all with it. I'm a huge supporter and fan of Fuji cameras. Their lenses are incredibly sharp, as you'll see. I've seen a bunch of videos on the x-pro2. There's plenty of information on that out there. But as far as lenses go, like my go-to portrait lens was the 56 millimeter f1.2 from Fuji. Incredibly sharp piece of glass, incredibly sharp. But I had watched a bunch of videos, and all I could really find on the 50 to 140 millimeter was either their setup review videos. As far as setup, what I mean is they're staged, like it's a controlled environment. They're shooting it. They're not showing it in everyday use. So I wanted to take, and I'm not knocking those guys at all. We need reviewers. But I wanted to show you everyday use, how incredibly sharp this lens actually is, because I have come across a couple of reviewers that claim that the lens is not sharp. I think you'll see in my photos that it's an incredible piece of glass. Very heavy too, but that comes with the territory. What you saw a minute ago, this does not look like your typical x-pro2. I'm using a grip on it as well. I love this grip. It's amazing. It adds a little bit extra bulk to it. But this pigtail you see hanging off that goes into my battery compartment is actually, it goes to Tether Tools case relay. This is what I actually use. The pigtail just plugs into here, and then this plugs into a battery pack. I use a 30,000 mAh battery pack that I wear in a holster on my belt, as well as this on the other side of the holster. That's what this little clip is here. But that allowed me to not even have to worry about batteries. I shot from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. straight. Never had to turn my camera off to let the battery recharge, because this actually has a small, I think it's a 1200 mAh battery in here, that if you were swapping out battery packs, this allows you to continue to shoot until you plug this into a new pack. But I use a 30,000 mAh pack, so there's no need for me to swap packs. But but yeah, I'm gonna swap over now, and I'm gonna show you real-world use images of the Fuji XF 50 to 140 millimeter f2.8, and I think you'll agree this lens is incredibly sharp. So if you've been looking for a video that showed you actual images from real-world use of this lens, then you've come across it. So we're going to go ahead and swap over here to Lightroom. This is Hannah. She actually won the Miss Teen title, and I may show you a little later on who won the actual Miss title. But this just gives you an idea. All right, just to set this up, okay, I'm about 200 feet from the stage, so I'm a pretty good distance from the stage, and you can't see my data here, but I'm at 1/200th of a second, f4, ISO is 1250, and I am at a full 140 millimeter, which is a little over 200 millimeter equivalent in 35 millimeter terms. But as you can see, I mean, this image, when I zoom in, it's incredibly sharp. It's incredibly sharp from such a distance away. But I'll just go through some of these images here and show you, and then I'll show you some of the plaques, some of the awards that they won before they got crowned, where you can actually read the plaques. You can actually read the plaques from And I'm actually further away on those photos than I am on these because it's a huge auditorium that this thing took place in. And there was this kind of, I guess it was a handicap or fire lane kind of thing about 250, maybe 300 feet back. And it's this wide area that there's no seats in. And so that's kind of where I set up at, so that way I could kind of, move back and forth across the back, when I needed to get to different shots. And then this one, I'm kind of off to the side of the stage about 200 feet back, telephotoed in. But I'll just flip through a couple of these. Let me go ahead and swap this to some of the ones that I've already denoised. This is a fabulous image here. I love this. I do a lot of black and white photography, but for this type of event, can't really do too much black and white. I did want to show some video of me in action, but because of contract restraints and stuff, I can't actually show footage from the event that I took because they had actual videographers and stuff for that. But there's one of these images where Hannah actually got asked a pretty difficult question, and she actually teared up a little bit, and I managed to, if I can find it, I believe it's this image here, I managed to catch her crying. Now remember, this is from well over 200 feet back, all the way in at 140 millimeter, and as you can see, you can see the tears on her face. You can see the stream of tears and the tears coming out of her eyes. That is incredibly sharp, guys. Now let's move on down to some of maybe where she got some plaques, so we can kind of see what's going on with those. Yeah, like, okay, here's a good one. If we zoom in now, at this point, any of the head-on shots you guys see, I'm about 275 feet back from the stage, all the way in at 140 millimeter, which is 200 millimeter equivalent. Same f4, 1250 ISO, 200th of a second. But if we zoom in here, you can read the plaque. Now you cannot tell me this lens is not sharp. I don't know what kind of magic Fuji has going on in their glass department, in their lens construction department, but this is incredible. Like, this is incredible. So what I'm saying is, this was my favorite portrait lens, the 56mm f1.2, but I almost want to say that I might opt, just for flexibility, and it just performs so well. Like, the autofocus speed is very, very good on this. The color rendition is amazing. The sharpness is right up there. I'm not going to say it's as sharp as the primes, but holy cow, this will blow your mind how incredibly sharp this is for a telephoto. It's insane. I love it. I love it. But as you can see, I mean, it's plain as day. You can read the plaque. 2017 on it. I mean, it's incredibly sharp. Here she is getting crowned. You can zoom in. You can see the detail on the crown if it'll load. Yeah, I mean, look at that. It's just incredibly sharp. Let's skip over down and look at, this will give you an idea of some of the color rendition of the lens. Now, I didn't do any color grading or anything like that on any of these images. Look at these shots. That is insane. That's mind-blowingly good. I love this image right here. There's another one here that I did in black and white. Oh my gosh, look at that. That's incredible. Incredible. Let's see. I think Madison had a really good image that I was so happy that I caught. Where is it? I turned it into a black and white just because I loved it so much. Oh, here we go. Oh my gosh, that's incredible. What? What? Look at that. That is insane, dude. And keep in mind, like, these girls were not posing the entire pageant. They're constantly moving. So that's a testament. I mean, for that pageant, I took 7,263 photos. And I want to say 90 to 93% of them were just sharp and in focus. And the auto tracking on the x-pro2 was just phenomenal. You know, this is real world use, guys. This is a paid gig. This is something I got paid to do. I'm not just showing up in the audience kind of thing. You know, I am the official photographer, and it's just I was just pleasantly pleased with this. I just swapped. I used to shoot Nikon, and then I moved over to Sony for a little bit, and then I fell in love with Fuji, and I swapped completely over to Fuji. And this is the first event of this size that I have shot with my Fuji, and I did have concerns at first. I thought, you know, what if, you know, can Fuji hang with that? Can I shoot from 2 to 10 non-stop, 7,000 shutter actuations, more than 7,000 shutter actuations, and not have any hiccups or hangs or problems with tether tools, case relay, or anything like that? I didn't have one hiccup, not one hiccup. It performed incredible. It's just I'm so happy with Fuji right now. I really would like to bump up and get the X-T2 eventually, just because of the burst on it is a little bit higher than the x-pro2. When you slap on the battery pack, you get that extra boost. I think you go from 8 to 11 or something like that. You have 8 on this, which 8 is plenty for something like this. I did shoot an 8 FPS burst, and the majority, I'd say probably out of 8 frames per second, let's just say out of every 8 photos, maybe 1 in 8 was blurry and not sharp, but most of them were, you know, just incredibly sharp. I mean, it's just I don't know. I've never shot with a telephoto lens that is as sharp as this Fuji is at this kind of distance. It's just I call it Fuji voodoo. That's my term. That's my name that I give amazing photos. You know, all photographers have a catchphrase when they look on the back of the camera, which you don't even have to do that. You know, you can electronic viewfinder. You just look at the photo after you've taken it through the viewfinder, and that's all I can say is Fuji voodoo. I don't know. I mean, it's some kind of secret sauce in these lenses. It's phenomenal. I mean, I'm so pleased with the performance of that lens. I'll just kind of flip through a couple of more of these so you guys can kind of get an idea of I mean, this is real world use. I mean, look right here. I mean, we're talking after some of the edits were done, you know, it bumped it up with the TIFF files. I'm looking at 9,090 photos for this catalog. So this, in one day's time, I put this camera and this lens through its paces, and it performed phenomenal. Let's look at a couple more of these images here. I really liked her dress. She really looked amazing in hers. They all did. They all looked phenomenal. And in November, I get to go to the actual Miss Alabama. Not, you know, this was a preliminary. I'm the official photographer for preliminary, but I got invited to go to the actual Miss Alabama because of the crowned winners of the pageant that I shoot for are going to compete in the Miss Alabama and Miss Teen Alabama USA title pageants. So I get to go as VIP. I'm so happy. That's cool. That's going to be awesome. I don't know if I'll get to shoot. I went ahead and shot her an email, asked them, you know, you guys got any guest photographers for spots or anything like that? So fingers crossed, that would be cool. But yeah, I mean, as you can see, I mean, it's just incredibly sharp. It's just incredibly sharp. I mean, look at that. That's insane. And the detail. I mean, the detail is all there. I mean, you can see every wrinkle and crease in this dress. I took a pretty good. I like the black and white I did of her. What I did when they were working the stage, I was working the stage from a photographer point of view. So what I was doing is I was studying the stage. I was looking at where are the different spots, where are the different light at, where's the best quality light. Can I pull a portrait out of this somehow? And I was able to pull a portrait out for every single contestant. A black and white portrait, kind of my signature thing that I do. Let's see. Oh, hang on. Phone's ringing. Yeah, I was able to pull a black and white portrait out because what I did is I noticed that as you can see, this is beautiful Rembrandt lighting right on the edge of the stage. And I just noticed during the rehearsal, when I was shooting the rehearsal stuff, or taking test shots during the rehearsal, let's just say, I noticed that they all walk through this one area of the stage, and it was the far right of the stage. You know, it just didn't look like anything to anyone else, but you use your photographer's eye and you see the image in your mind, and you see that, okay, wait a second, you know, there is I like some of the photos I got of her over there. You see, you know, okay, I see that there's Rembrandt lighting over there. So, you know, how can I use that? You know, are they going to walk through that? Because at that point, I had only seen one person walk through that, and I was like, just, oh, please let the rest of them walk through there. That would be so great. And they did. It turns out they all ended up walking through this one little area, and they weren't even there for long. Like, these are not posed shots. They're stepping. They're in the process of moving. This is, you know, the x-pro2's auto tracking. This is the lens autofocus. This is everything working together to just be lightning quick and super sharp. And I'm so happy. I cannot say enough good things about Fuji. Fuji, if you guys ever see this video, you guys make some incredibly sharp lenses. You know, I use this stuff professionally. I trust this stuff professionally. I would not, you know, on a gig as big as this, you know, where I'm the official photographer for, you know, preliminaries to Miss Alabama, if I did not trust that this camera and this lens would have done the job, I wouldn't have showed up with it. So that's, you know, that's a testament right there. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. You guys make sure to like and subscribe. And if you got any questions or comments, leave them below. And you guys take care. I'll see you around. Peace.